Greetings. If you lead worship or help with worship on stage, you know there's a lot that goes into preparing and participating. It's not something that's for everybody. Having all eyes on you is pretty intimidating. And once you get up on stage, you have to deal with nerves and all that fun stuff. You have to pay attention to what you're doing, what the band is doing, what the leader's doing. It's a lot to keep track of. I made a video a while back poking fun at various types of worship guitarists, and YouTube user Stratman asked about the good forms of stage presence. It was a great question, actually, something that not enough people think about. When you're focused on what you're doing on stage, thinking about what you look like it feels secondary. In my 20 years of worship leadership experience, this is something that took a while to get down. Trust me, I had the ultimate resting bass face, as one person called it. The first thing to making sure your stage presence for worship is good is preparation. Basically, practice, practice, practice. This is obvious, right? You might think that, but I've encountered many people for whom it's not so obvious. When I haven't spent time playing through the song list for each Sunday, I'm not confident about what I'm playing. I'm not focused on the right thing. I get jittery, I get distracted. Long story short, it ain't pretty. But when I've practiced and know what I'm playing and doing for each song, then I can focus on the congregation, what my face is doing and what the band is doing. In other words, a little confidence goes a long way. When you're confident in what you're playing, that makes a huge difference on stage. And plus, the rest of the band will probably like you more. Next, think about your face. I know this sounds weird. Some of us don't like thinking about our face. But it's something you've got to do. Most people's focused face is not exactly pleasant to behold. Case in point. So you've got to force yourself to smile, or at least look like you're not angry. Because while you want your worship on stage to be authentic, you also don't want to look like you're in pain. When you're on stage for worship, you want to encourage people to worship joyfully. And if you don't look like you're happy to be there, it impedes the congregation's joy. So think about what your face is doing and try to at least smile. Or at the very least, try to reflect the feel of the song. You'll be surprised at the difference it makes, not just for corporate worship, but for your own worship as well. Next, make eye contact occasionally. Whether you're a professional music performer or a worship volunteer, really good stage presence involves looking up from your instrument and interacting with the crowd. This "You are my king, you are my God" versus this "You are my king, you are my God." Now for worship, this doesn't mean jumping around and yelling, but just simply looking up and making eye contact. This shows the congregation that you're involved, that you're there for them and not just you, that you're worshiping with them and not just focused on your own personal worship. Finally, for this video, move around. Again, this should be really obvious, but it's worth repeating. Think about the worst concert you've ever been to. They probably didn't move around much, didn't interact with the crowd, weren't confident in their instruments or playing. I've been to even a few worship events in which the people on stage just didn't look excited to be there. In fact, they looked like they were just unhappy. Even if you're prepared, if you're looking up occasionally or even smiling, if you're not moving even a little, you're not improving the energy of the room. Now think about when the music really hits you. If you're sitting down, you want to stand. If you're standing, you want to do something, anything. For worshipers, this often means lifting our hands, right? Maybe a little moshing, just kidding. Obviously, if you're playing an instrument, this is a little hard to do. So try to incorporate some movement into what you're doing, even if it's just swaying back and forth or, moving around a little bit. Tapping your feet, bobbing your head, movement increases your energy, and it creates this awesome cyclical effect with the congregation that just drastically improves the whole experience. When the whole band is really involved and really invested, the people see that and then they get more invested, which encourages your increased investment, which the people see, and so on and so forth. Obviously, worship is the focus. Christ is always the primary focus. We don't want to do anything that distracts from that. So much of how you carry this out is up to you and the Holy Spirit. These are just basic principles on how to improve your stage presence in a way that encourages the congregation to worship and enables you to worship better as well. I had a lady once on my worship team who wanted to do some stuff that just wasn't appropriate for where we were. Nothing really bad per se, but it just didn't work with that particular environment and setting. It would have been more distracting than anything. And when I asked her to stop, she objected strenuously and said something along the lines of, "I want them to see how I worship." It was one of those responses that just missed the mark entirely. We're not on stage to prove anything. We're on stage to encourage the people to worship, to do our best for God, which means our stage presence must improve and be appropriate for whatever venue we're in. And while the basic principles remain the same, the way we follow them will vary slightly from stage to stage. As easy as uniformity would be, it's not exactly ideal for a church that's as diverse as it is spread out. So thank you for watching. I greatly appreciate it. These are just basic tips, so please leave a comment if you got anything to add. I always love hearing other people's perspectives and ideas, if they're good, that is. JK, number love. Please go to my Patreon site, support the work I do here. I've got a worship album coming out this summer, so keep an eye out for that. But also check out the links in the description for my current EPs and singles. I've also got more covers coming soon too. Thank you again, and I will catch you later.